Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Monday to you. When I say I have a great show planned for you today, I have a great show planned for you today. This is going to be awesome. I need you to sit back, relax, call your friends, call family members, call anybody you know interested in the sports world or American culture at large, and tell them to hop on over here to our YouTube channel, to our podcast, and buckle up and get ready for an explanation of everything we're seeing in popular culture, in entertainment culture, in college football. I'm about to put a big umbrella, a big bow. I'm about to tie together everything we're seeing with Deion Sanders and why it's significant. And I just, for those of you that are upset with my conversation about Deion Sanders, pipe down for a minute. Let me explain to you what is going on and why I continue to talk about it and why what happened on Saturday was important and is perhaps a time and a moment for Deion to take a step back, and certainly for those of you that are watching this story and are fascinated by this story to take a step back and put it in a much bigger, broader perspective. We're going to be here for probably two and a half hours today. Danny Cannell is going to come on at the end of the show. You guys remember Danny Cannell. He played quarterback at Florida State. He played quarterback in the NFL. He's the host of his own show. Going to get his perspective on Deion and the media reaction to Deion at the end of this show. But for about the next 2 hours, it's going to just be me and you. Or maybe it'll be 90 minutes, but it's going to take me some time because I'm going to tie a bunch of things together. I'm going to tie Deion Sanders, Sexy Red, the rapper, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and Shannon Sharpe. I'm about to, this whole circus act we have going on in the media, this whole clown show that we have going on in the media, I'm about to tie it all together. And I'm going to take my time and try to break these things up. I'm going to deal with Deion first. Then I'm going to walk you through Sexy Red and Ice Spice and this whole rap thing. Then I'm going to walk you through Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I don't know if you caught that. They're now dating. Then I'm going to end it by talking about Shannon Sharpe and this whole disrespect culture that Shannon Sharpe talking about his relationship with Skip Bayless. So sit back, put all of your thoughts away, put all your Whitlock animus or defensiveness away, and just hear me out. And at the end of this, if you still have all your same complaints and you still think the same way, well, you're probably not that smart, you're probably not that reachable, but at least you would have heard me out and then you can complain. So before I do that, because I just want to open up some space, this part of the show is brought to you by Liver Health Formula. You guys know I've been talking about Liver Health Formula for months now. You guys know that I started taking Liver Health Formula 2 years ago, and then 6 months ago, they jumped on board as a sponsor of this show, unbeknownst to me, a product that I have been taking and using to help slim down and fight my fatty liver because, again, if studies indicate that with a fatty liver, you're 3.5 times more likely to have heart failure than those without a fatty liver. The American Liver Foundation says that 100 million Americans have a fatty liver. This is a way to support your liver and to support your health and the health of your liver. Your liver does all kinds of functions for you, and particularly if you're fighting the battle of the bulge like I am, and particularly if you want to address your weight issue, nothing could help you better than Liver Health Formula. It contains 12 clinically proven botanicals that help recharge and protect your liver. It's manufactured right here in the USFA, in the US of A. American doctors love it. If you want to ignite your fat-burning metabolism, boost your energy, and transform how you look and feel, you got to try Liver Health Formula. Receive a free bottle of blood sugar formula to reduce sugar cravings when you order today. All you have to do is go to getliverhelp.com/Jason. You can claim your free bonus gift by just going to getliverhelp.com/Jason. Thank you, Liver Help. Now, I want to get to Deion Sanders and the clown show. And again, I'm going to break down this entire clown show. We got Deion. He's Bozo the Clown. We got Shannon Sharpe. He's Krusty the Clown. We got Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. They're killer clowns. And we got Sexy Red. She's Pennywise. You guys know Pennywise. Another killer clown. But anyway, I'm going to start with Deion. So give me a second here as I try to walk you through why this is important to me. And I covered some of this last week, but I think to some degree over some people's heads, or maybe I didn't spend enough time unpacking it properly. But if you watch this show and you listen to my overall message from the beginning of this show, idolatry is my pet issue. Idolatry is part of the reason I fled California and moved to Tennessee. There were things that I had made an idol in my life that I had to walk away from, and I had to get out of California to fully get away from it. You've heard me talk on this show that my nickname was Big Sexy, and I had turned my sin into my identity. Big Sexy. Big, gluttonous, overweight, sexy, controlled by lust, controlled by sex. And in order to break those chains, particularly the sexual chain, and particularly, I don't want to go into too much detail because I gotta be respectful of other people. But there was a particular woman that if I didn't leave California, I was never going to move past the sexual ties that we had created together. And so that was part of the reason I left. And again, when I started figuring out like, hey, what's holding me back? It's my idolatry. And I had made myself an idol. And then once you start really understanding how idolatry works and how our idolatrous nature is blinding us from truth, blinding us and preventing us from moving forward in a healthy way. That's part of the reason I moved here, and part of the reason I started going full bore into trying to come up with a show where I could talk about sports, I could talk about pop culture, I could talk about the entertainment industry, I could talk about politics, and I could talk about faith while trying to explain to people and explain to myself. The conversations I'm having on this show are a ministry for myself as well. When you immerse yourself in a conversation about faith and what God wants you to do, it's a way of reminding yourself of what you need to do to break some of these negative chains that are stopping you from reaching your full potential. Idolatry is plaguing America. And that's why we did the show last week with the title American Idols, and we started talking about Deion and Barack Obama. The entire conversation that I'm trying to have is about how idolatry blinds us, and that if we don't take these controlled puppets, we don't take them off the pedestals that we have them on and start dealing with them and evaluating them in a real way, we're going to continue to be led astray. Deion Sanders and I are the same age. We're same high school class, college class, all of that. He's a peer of mine age-wise. I'm looking at a man at 56 who's still leaning into that prime time brand, that's prime time identity. I'm looking at a man at 56 who has made himself an idol and has taken something negative, prime time. Because again, when you think of prime time and that persona he created as a football player, materialistic, no humility, in your face, I'm the greatest ever, and to still be thinking that way, materialistic, I'm the greatest ever, no humility, to still be thinking that way at 56, and to be putting it on display, and for other men in particular. A lot of my conversation is directed at men, and it's directed particularly at black men. And but it's men in general, because we all struggle with some form of idolatry. Deion's are just easier to spot and see because he's in the public light, he's doing interviews everywhere, he's on 60 Minutes, he's all over social media, he tapes himself doing everything. So he's a great topic to talk about to get people to understand how idolatry is wrecking your life and wrecking our life and wrecking the country and wrecking all of us from moving forward, because in this era of social media, we've all become our own individual idols. We've all become narcissistic. And then we think there's something important about a Deion Sanders, as if he's a special kind of human being that deserves to be placed on a pedestal because he played football at such a high level. This blinds you from truth. It blinds you from seeing the world in a true perspective. It distracts you from your abandonment of values that, if you've had any relationship with Christian faith, if you have any understanding, once you start making someone like Deion an idol or yourself an idol, you're coming up with a reason to abandon your values. Well, so and this is why last week when I started talking about the Duke Blue Devils and how everybody could look at the Duke Blue Devils in their heyday with Christian Laettner and Mike Krzyzewski and Bobby Hurley. Everybody saw Duke as these spoiled, rich, entitled kids. And a lot of people didn't like the Duke program because they felt, oh, they're elite. They think they're better than us. They carry themselves like they're better than us. Christian Laettner is arrogant and lacks humility. Everybody was on board. Hey, we don't like that, and we criticize that, and we don't like the way Dick Vitale and ESPN worship them and say they can do no wrong. But our idolatry, our racial idolatry, when we see the exact same thing from Deion Sanders and the Colorado football team, our racial idolatry makes us say, no, I like that now. And boy, this really scares everybody, and it's racial, and they just want Deion's talking his talk and walking his walk, and because he's black, we're uncomfortable with it. That's how idolatry works. It makes you abandon your values. That's why I keep talking about Deion Sanders. And the other thing, and I'm just going to go into the football aspect of Deion and why I don't think what he's doing at Colorado is sustainable and it will not work. And again, you all are thinking like, oh, this is going to work. This is a great thing for college football. And everybody's scared to death of it. People aren't scared to death of it. Now, to some degree, people don't want to live in a world where materialism and a lack of humility become the way to have success. And they're tired of that because they see it everywhere. If you lived as long as I have, you've seen how all values and principles have been thrown away. And we become a society that's like, as long as you have money, it doesn't matter what you do. There is no shame. If your daughter is tied to a stripper pole and has the name of some pimp tattooed on her wrist, as long as she's making money, I'm all good with it. Oh, you're a dope dealer selling dope in your community, selling dope to your family members and next door neighbors and baby mamas and kids. As long as you got money, I'm good with it. That's what a materialistic society, how it operates. That's why every rapper, in order to enhance his brand and in order to be more worshiped, lies, exaggerates, or tells the truth about, here's my days as a rapper or a pimp, and here I am, here's Snoop Dogg walks in with women on leashes, and we're all good with it. Snoop is great. Snoop is awesome. Yeah, he was a gang member. Yes, he claims to be a pimp. Yes, he claims to have dealt dope. But he's great because he's popular and he's black. That's idolatry. You're throwing away all of your values and then you're wondering why. You're wondering why kids are being sexualized at school. You're wondering why everybody wants to get drag kids to a drag show. And everyone thinks it's appropriate to have drag queens in front of little kids and take them to a gay pride parade where men are walking around half naked and shaking their dinglings in front of kids' face. You're wondering why we got here? It's through idolatry. It's through radical materialism. It's through no control, no discipline, tossing away your values because you've made yourself a god and you have a lack of humility and you think anything that you feel is of critical importance. Any way that you operate is the way it must be. And for me to see a 56-year-old man think that he should be behaving the way that he did at 18 and 19, that's incredible. And to see people celebrating this, it's incredible. And so, yes, there are coaches and there are a handful of people, a tiny handful of people in the media that are like, whoa, this isn't good for society. This isn't good for college football. This is going to further destroy another institution that had done some good things. And it's going to take us down a path further and further into the abyss. And so I want the people that think that this Deion thing is going to be a huge, huge success. I just want to walk you through the football reasons why it's not going to work. And Oregon gave us a peek into the clown show that Deion is actually operating at Colorado. And it's great. Oh, they won 3 games and they only won one last year. They're already ahead of schedule. He's already done a great thing. And the dude overturned his entire roster through the transfer portal. I think they said on TV they had 69 new scholarship players. You only have 85 scholarship players. I believe it's been said they have 86 new players total. 69 new scholarship players and 86 new players total. That's a total overhaul. He's not coaching the 1-11 team. He's coaching the new team that he brought in. And so let me help you understand why this isn't going to work. Look at their offensive line. And everybody is now talking about how bad their offensive line is. And oh my gosh, Deion Sanders has been hit 60 times. It's the most in the nation. And look how many times he got sacked. And boy, the offensive line is terrible. And so for the people that don't understand college football, he's not going to be able to bring in 69 new players next season. It may be difficult through the transfer portal to bring in 15 new players out of the transfer portal. That may be very difficult. You can transfer once under these transfer portal rules. And so all the players that Deion brought in through the transfer portal, the ones that he's dissatisfied with, when he puts a gun to their head this year, this offseason, the gun says, get out of football, not hit the transfer portal. They've already done that. They can't. And so then now you have to go to recruiting, high school recruiting. And if you go to high school recruiting and look, all this hype and Deion's put this magical environment together and everybody wants to play for Deion Sanders. Go look at the 2024 recruiting rankings. Rivals has it updated. 24/7 Sports has it updated. ESPN has a list. Deion is the Colorado's ranked either 73rd or 75th, depending on which poll you look at. 73rd or 75th. I think he's got right now, and again, there's time and there'll be more recruits to come, but right now he's 14th out of 16 schools in the Big 12 in recruiting. 14th out of 16. Recruits are not flocking to Colorado, despite all the hype, because just like Dan Lanning had a message for his team on Saturday, he's got a message for recruits as well. And so does Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and every other football coach in the country. They have a message, and their message is, hey, Deion's only there to shepherd Shedeur Sanders into the NFL. Deion's not there for long, is the message those coaches are saying. He will not be at Colorado for very long. He's there for his sons. If you go look at Deion's coaching history, it's always been about his sons. Prime Prep was about coaching his sons. Jackson State was about coaching his sons. Colorado is about coaching his sons in an environment that he's comfortable in. Wasn't comfortable in Jackson, Mississippi. Very comfortable in Boulder, Colorado. And so when Shedeur and Shiloh head to the NFL, these other coaches say, Deion won't be there. And then the other message they're saying is, and this is part of the reason why I wore my Suge Knight red shirt, because them coaches on these other teams, Dan Lanning can probably do it because he's got that kind of vibe, that kind of energy, that kind of relationship with his players. But even a Nick Saban is going into recruits' homes with his Suge Knight shirt on, because Alabama wears red, and he's saying, come to Death, Alabama. If you don't want your producer all up in your videos and trying to steal all the spotlight, come to Alabama. You remember when Suge Knight called out P. Diddy for being in every Bad Boy video? That's what's being done to Deion Sanders. Coach Prime is there building the Coach Prime brand and Shedeur's brand. And he pretends like he's interested in Travis Hunter's brand. But Coach Prime is about Coach Prime. He's P. Diddy. And these other coaches are running around being Suge Knight. I'm not going to be in the video. I'm going to let you be the star of this football team. And that's resonating with people. There will be a handful of recruits, particularly maybe a handful of DBs, that want to play for Coach Prime. Maybe some wide receivers, enough NIL money, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to fixing that offensive line, that's a very small group of people that will be interested in what Deion has going on up in Colorado. You don't recruit offensive linemen, the ones you can count on game after game, day after day. You don't recruit those guys with rappers and weed and NIL. You recruit them with a culture of respect that they realize their importance. So when Deion goes into a press conference last week, not the week before, and someone asked him about his 18-year-old starting center, and he goes, who? If you think these other coaches haven't taken that video to the offensive lineman that they're recruiting against with Colorado and say, this is what Deion thinks about his offensive line. Who? That's a school for wide receivers and defensive backs and Deion's son at quarterback. Everybody else is an afterthought. And all of you people that think that some cover cornerback is going to establish the kind of attitude and toughness in a team that it takes to create a consistent running game. The toughness, the attitude, the intangibles that are necessary to create that environment. Deion can't do it. He's a cover corner. The most talented one that's ever played the game. He's not some technician that excelled at corner because of his technique. He's not some corner that was a beast in the run game as well. He's a cover corner. He knows nothing about what it takes to build the physicality within a team so that you can establish a running game and that you can establish a tough as nails defensive environment. Go look at what Oregon did to Colorado, and the signs were there in the TCU game. They were there in the Colorado State game. They were there in the Nebraska game, but Nebraska just played so bad that it didn't matter. But the signs, this isn't a tough team. Not a physically tough team. It's not. There's some tough players. Deion's sons, I'd put at the top of that list. But a tough team? No dice. Deion can't create that. A cover corner can't create that. And that's what a head coach does. Y'all are so caught up in, oh, did you see Deion talking to that wide receiver, Jimmy Horn, and told him that his daddy's in jail and he's looking and blah, blah. And Deion doing a highlight video of Deion coaching. That ain't how you install toughness on a team. That's not how you create a consistent running game. It's not how you develop offensive linemen. It ain't stories about daddies in jail. It's not that. It's not a coach that's doing every TV interview. It's not a coach that's showing up in sunglasses, ain't looking nobody in the eye because he's got sunglasses on. That ain't it. That's not it. A head coach, for one, his primary job, and this is what Deion thinks, and y'all think, people that don't understand football, think that a head coach's primary, oh, it's marketing. Look at all the excitement. Oh, they've raised $90 million for Colorado. This is awesome. Deion's underpaid. A coach coaches his coaches. He transfers his energy, his values into his coaches. And so if the coach is tough, that's why Marty Schottenheimer teams could always run the football and play defense. Because Marty Schottenheimer was that type of tough coach, and he coached his coaches in a way to bring out toughness in his entire team. And they could always run the ball and play defense. Deion's not doing that. And so there will be no quick fixes of that offensive line, and there won't be an environment set up that allows an offensive line to mature and develop. They got the wrong head coach for that. They have a marketing guru. They have a brand ambassador, not a head coach. And y'all think that all it takes in college football, oh, just recruiting, everything's recruiting. And coaches say it all the time, it's about the players. But that most coaches are saying that as a way to be humble. and because they don't think you'll understand the little things that they do that actually matter to a team. And so if they really told you what they do and how they did it, one, it would go over your head. Two, you think they were glossing themselves. So they just say, yeah, just talent's the only thing that matters. We just got to get the players. And you buy into it. But a great coach knows that he does far more than that he coaches his coaches and sets an example with his coaches and energizes his coaches with a toughness and an attitude that they then transfer into their position groups. None of that's happening at Colorado. Deion's one of the most talented football players in the history of athletics. That's not transferable. You can't transfer talent. And trust me, if the Dallas Cowboys or the San Francisco 49ers, if their offensive linemen had the same mentality as Deion Sanders, they wouldn't have won no football games. When you play cover corner, you can be what Deion is. These other positions require something else that Deion doesn't know how to give them because he's never thought about it. He's never had to think about it. He's not a real coach. And so that sounds, Chase, I just give Deion a break. Come up out of your idolatry. All of it. Let it go. Again, idolatry blinds you from the truth. I just unpacked real truth to you. But it's your idolatry that's standing in the way of you accepting it. I like Deion, and he's black. How dare you criticize him? Oh, when you criticize Megan Rapinoe, that's fine. She's white. When you criticize Josh Allen, that's fine. She's white. You criticize Mina Kimes, that's fine. She's Asian. Any of these people that I criticize, no one complains. There's one group of idolatrous people that think, oh, God, we're above criticism. And if you criticize us, you hate us. No. I criticize people based off a set of values, not based off of skin color. This is what racial idolatry does. You toss out your values and you start evaluating skin color. You're blinded from the truth. You will always make bad decisions. You will always bet on things that aren't sustainable. You'll think like, oh, that welfare check is better than a daddy and a husband and a father. That's how you make mistakes. When you turn away from values and a set of principles and start basing things on skin color. And, oh, I like this person. And he makes me smile. And he's handsome. And he's worth a bunch of money. And that looks like fun. And then you get upset with someone like me that has committed to a set of values and principles. And when I see those values and principles violated, I point it out. Hey, this goes against my values. This is not sustainable on a football team. I got people that know nothing about football. And trust me, watching football doesn't mean you know anything about football. I got people, because y'all think it's a video game. Y'all think it's Madden. Y'all think it's NCAA college football dynasty mode. And if I just, on dynasty mode in that video game, if I just recruit the right players and simulate a season or two, they're all going to be great players. Your mind has been tricked by video games into thinking that's what's important. It's not. That's not what builds great teams. That's not great leadership from a coach. And so I'm evaluating Deion Sanders from a values perspective. And his values are not in alignment with what makes a great team, what's sustainable. They're not in line with God. The materialism and the lack of humility. It's so obvious. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. And I'm sorry that your minister doesn't tell you these things at church. And that your minister confirms your racial idolatry. I apologize for that. But that's not my problem. I'm here to talk to you about a set of values and principles that I know work. They've been proven over thousands of years. They come directly from the Bible. And then I'm here to tell you about what I've seen in football from having played it and having covered it for 40, 50 years. I'm not speculating, particularly as it relates to offensive linemen. It's the one thing I'm not speculating about. And all of you all think, oh, he's just going to hit the recruiting trail and it's all going to be magically fixed. You don't know a damn thing about football. Nothing. Hate me all you want, but you don't know anything about football. And so I want to play a couple of things from Deion. I want to start. I want to start with the combined clip that I asked for, where he talks about there's not a talent gap, and then he starts talking about there's a target on his back. It's from his press conference after the Oregon game. It's the combined clip of Deion saying no talent gap. No talent gap. Then I keep receipts, and you better get me now. That's the combined clip. Let's play that.
No, definitely not. If we had a talent gap, we wouldn't be 3-1 right now. And it's not a talent gap. You just got your butt kicked. It just happens sometimes. It's just like a fighter. You just got caught. It happens. I don't say stuff just to say it for a click, contrary to what some may say. But I keep receipts. But I'm serious. I analyze and I understand what we're up against and what we have and what we need. One thing that I could say honestly and candidly, you better get me right now. This is the worst we're going to be. You better get me right now.
I just want you to understand what just happened here. And again, this is Deion, an inexperienced coach, an inexperienced leader, great player, but a very inexperienced, not a leader. Super talented, great player, but not a leader. The man at one point said, hey, there's no talent gap. That's not the way we wouldn't be 3-1. And then in that same press conference, 5 minutes later, it's you better get me now. And the inference being, and he said it, I know what we need. I know what we need. I know what we're going to get or something like that. He's already talking about there's a talent gap, and I know what we need, and I know how we're going to get it, and we're going to replace it, and it's going to get better. And you better get me now. It's all about Deion. It's not us. It's not we. That's how coaches talk. Us and we. Deion talks about me all the time. That's not what leaders and head coaches do. I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. I'm sorry that Deion's your idol and that bothers you, but those are facts. And so Deion thinks, because he's an inexperienced coach, that he's going to replace these players. And once he replaces them with someone better, they're going to be better than these guys that are here now. It's not that easy. You have to drop talent into the right environment. And so people would drop Deion's talent into an environment where it wasn't a team full of Deions. It allowed Deion to be Deion, but it allowed the rest of the team to have a different mentality and approach. A team full of Deions. This whole AAU experiment that he has going on, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Deion, and again, Deion knows what he's done. I want to play the one other clip before we go about putting a target on our back. He talks about that and how the target is on him. Let's play that clip.
Right. I don't think it's a target on our back. I just think this teams are trying to beat me. They're not trying to beat our team. They keep forgetting I'm not playing anymore. I had a great career. I'm serious. I got a gold jacket, ain't back. So I'm good. But that's what it really is. I don't think they get any extra satisfaction, you know. It is what it is. And I signed up for it, so let's go. No, they don't make it tougher on our team. These are grown men. I'm not out there. If I was out there playing against every coach I played against, we would be totally dominant.
See, what a coach doesn't do, a good coach, he doesn't put his own team at a disadvantage. He doesn't provide extra motivation for the opposition. And that's what Deion has done. And I talked about it last week, that he put a target on his kid's back and the teams are taking Deion personally. Did anyone see the Oregon kids post-game? The black Oregon kids that were flashing watches or this sign at Shador? Anybody catch that? There was an Oregon defensive lineman in the post-game press conference talking about how Deion disrespected them with comments he said about his offensive line and dominating the game. Deion has put a target on his kid's back, and he's in denial if he doesn't think that's having an impact on why Colorado State beat them up physically and should have won that game, and is part of the reason why they were so beaten up, they look like hot garbage, in Deion's words, against Oregon. He's made the road harder for his kids. And again, you can do that. It's like Deion said, if they were out there playing against me, we'd be winning every game. Deion could put a target on his back. He had so much talent that he could do that as an individual player and be perfectly fine. Deion's a once-in-a-lifetime type athlete. You can't do that to your team. They can't walk the walk that Deion talks. And coaches realize that, and they take a more mature approach than Deion, than making everybody get extra hype because they want to take Deion down. And y'all, the racial idolatry, y'all can all blame it on, oh, it's racism. Those are black kids that were out there all fired up, wanting to put it on Colorado and Deion. It's racial idolatry. It's idolatry, taking Deion off this pedestal so that you can actually see what's going on and so you can stick to your values and not be swayed by whatever celebrity they put in front of you. And I'm going to go a cut deeper on all of this. I'm going to bring Sexy Red into this. And Deion's impact there. When you bring all the rappers to your sidelines for the Colorado State game, and how that spreads like poison throughout college football. That's where we're going to go next. Don't go anywhere. I am not close to done. Let me take care of one of our new sponsors that's jumped on board, and I'm so honored and happy to be talking for these guys. Spent some time with them last week, getting to know them and their organization, the Association of Mature American Citizens. There's an organization out there that still backs Obamacare, gun control, and extreme transgender policies that endanger our children. And while they claim to be bipartisan, the truth is that last year, 95% of their donations went to Democrats. That organization is AARP, and it doesn't represent the values of American seniors. Fortunately, there's a conservative alternative. The Association of Mature American Citizens proudly champions Americans' right to free speech, religious liberty, and the Second Amendment. AMAC is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization and defends parents' rights to protect their children. They're also fighting to restore America's election integrity as well. AMAC is pushing back against the efforts to defund our police, weaken our borders, and indoctrinate and corrupt our children. With more than 2 million members nationwide, AMAC is pro-faith, pro-family, and pro-freedom. But they can't do it alone. Joining gives you access to special low rates on cell phones and plans, health and wellness products, travel and lodging, vision, dental, and prescription drugs. So join today. Let's send AARP a strong message that they don't represent conservative seniors. Join AMAC today at amc.us, amac.us/fearless. That's amac.us/fearless. Guys, I'm a lifetime member, just joined last week, got the lifetime hookup. Yes, I'm old enough to be a member of the Association of Mature American Citizens. Yes, I am old enough, and so are you, because it's not an age-restricted thing. But look, is it primarily targeted at Americans 45 and above? Absolutely. But anybody can join, and you should join. Again, lifetime member right here. Please join with me as we push back against the AARP and their corrupt, bogus values. All right, don't go anywhere. I got more. I'm going to bring Sexy Red into this next.
It's my obligation, I hate discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
Previously on Fearless.
Y'all all probably think the Deion thing's going to work. Warren, you start us off.
I'm fully in, because the man is so consistent and patient with them young men, and then he surrounded himself with good coaches around him. It's not just him. It's not just him. If it was just him, I'd be like, Prime, you can't do this all by yourself, baby. You're a Florida boy, and I know we walk around with chips on our shoulders and think we walk on water, but that's just too much. He's got a great staff with him, and the kids are all in. When he's in front of them talking, it's almost like they're in a trance. And you know how that is when you got a football team on one beat. When you got a football team on one beat, we can do whatever we want to do because we're all rowing in the same direction.
All right, welcome back. Man, I can't wait to get into this version of the discussion, because again, this is what I'm talking about, how you're being walked away from your values and into a trap, a landmine by these idols that you have adopted. And this is why we must abandon idolatry. And this is why I'm critical of Deion Sanders. Because he and others, it's not just him alone, but he and others are walking us away from our values and into a train wreck society. And so continue to stick with me as I unpack all of this. But Deion, as you guys saw at the Colorado State game, and this is why I'm calling this whole thing the clown show. And Deion is one of the top clowns in this clown show and this circus we got going on in the entertainment and sports world. And so he brings all the rappers to the Colorado State game. And everybody's, oh, look, he's appealing to the young people. And this is how you get the young people. And then you mix in a little bit of Deion's Christian beliefs, and that's how you get them. No, that's not how you get them. And we've had that discussion on this show. And you guys saw in real time as Virgil, Delano, Anthony, TJ walked me through like, hey man, your affinity for Mike Todd, the tactics that he's using to get people into the church door are going to blow up in his face. And they did blow up in Mike Todd's face. And the things, and if that becomes the standard, every church is going to look like Mike Todd's church, what that turns into. And Mike Todd's church now with that Pastor Charles, these dudes look real Alphabet Mafia friendly. That church looks real Alphabet Mafia friendly. And you all, because you have idolatry blinders on, you can't see how it is they're turning the entire culture alphabet mafia friendly. And this whole rap thing is a part of it. This whole rap thing is part of the idolatry and trick and blinding of, oh, rap it's black culture. And if you don't like rap, you don't like black. And so when it's wrapped in that idolatry of supporting your race and all those rappers and the gold chains and their values, overlook all of that. You're supporting the black thing. That's how, and so Deion has all the whole rap community, or a big person, Lil Wayne leading them out of the locker room, Keith Glock in the locker room, rapping to him, Master P on the sidelines, all of that. All it's on at Colorado. So what does Penn State turn around and do? Who's on Penn State's sideline this weekend? Sexy Red. Let's play the clip of Sexy Red on the Penn State sidelines, twerking and rapping. So play that again. I'm sorry, I want to play it again because it was for me initially, and I've seen this off show, but play it again. At the beginning, she's twerking and shaking her booty in front of another woman. And so when I'm telling you about this whole alphabet mafia agenda and how they're using the rappers to infiltrate and get your young kids all into the alphabet mafia agenda. It's Sexy Red. It's the rap world. It's P. Diddy. It's all the bisexual down low rappers and their music that's laced with alphabet mafia friendly lyrics. See, James Franklin is sitting there at Penn State thinking, I got to compete with Deion. He's got all the let me bring Sexy Red to my sidelines and to my game. Let's let her do Ski Yee or whatever that song is. It's one of the most profane, nasty. It's typical. It's like WAP. It's like everything else coming out of the rap world. It's highly sexualized music. Highly, extremely profane. Leaves nothing to the imagination. Where did Sexy Red come from? Who decided this no talent hack? I have yet to meet one person that will say Sexy Red has any talent at all. None. I can't meet anybody that thinks she's sexy. She's all tatted up. She's got tats on her face. Hood rat. That's all this is. That's all. Who decided that Sexy Red was the next big thing? China and TikTok. That's who's putting Sexy Red on. Have y'all heard of the little girl Ice Spice? Ice Spice, another one put on by China. This is Ice Spice right here. Not gonna play the lyrics because I don't want, but this is Ice Spice, half naked. She's gonna be bending over, getting her booty slapped by other women here in this video. Yeah. Where do you think this sexualization and alphabet mafia agenda, where is it coming from? And why are we signing off on it? Why are we throwing all of our values out there? Oh, it's a black thing. It's an idolatry thing. They're famous. TikTok made them famous. China controlled TikTok. Ice Spice comes out of nowhere with some song called Munch that's popular over TikTok. Sexy Red comes out of nowhere with some song, Pound Town. My booty hole brown, my coochie pink. So primitive, so stupid, so immoral That's like, how did we get here? What A&R is vetting these people? What record label is vetting these people? It's TikTok. China controlled TikTok. They don't play those videos in China. They don't allow it. They rig the algorithms in China so that their kids are seeing educational stuff that lifts them up. They rig the algorithms in America so that our kids are fed a steady diet of Ice Spice and Sexy Red. And so now because of TikTok, they're the next big thing. And because of TikTok, they get to be on the sidelines of major sporting events. We saw Sexy Red with Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets, the week before. Big gold chain, he's got his big gold chain. Who's injecting these values into us? China and TikTok. And why are we good with it? Because of our racial idolatry, our materialism, our idolatry of money. Oh, Sexy Red walks around with stacks of $100 bills up next to her ear. She's got gold chains on. She's got money. It must be good. This is what idolatry does. And this is why we have to take all of these celebrities off this pedestal and end our idolatry. Deion Sanders, I'm not sure if he knows what he's doing and what he represents. I'm not sure if he cares. But we have to take him off the pedestal, and I have to be allowed to talk about him and to explain to you what's going on, because it has real impact all the way down to our little kids. I want to show you, as we continue to mainstream a Sexy Red, and how China and TikTok and the people that want to see America fall and the people, I got to give you a global perspective. And that's why Royce and some of these other people are very important for the show. But China can't stand black people. Do they like elites? Can LeBron go over there and catch a bag? Yes. But do they like black people? No. Do they think we're animals and depraved and immoral? Yes. That's why they keep sending us and creating for us these idols of depravity, of immorality, of debauchery. That's why they keep creating them. It's like an assembly line. Little Nas X one week, Sexy Red the next, Ice Spice the week after that. Doja Cat, it's on a loop. And our idolatry blinds us. And so Sexy Red makes some of the most depraved, immoral music in the history of the so-called music industry. And I want to show you just how deep her hooks are in us. Let's play this clip of the teacher. This is like a group of second, third graders. They done came up with their own version of Ski Yee, the Sexy Red song. Play the clip.
When you see this how you gotta say what's up. I wanna be on my roster, but it's my love. We be living, learning, and we turn it up. Work up to your desk, hold it up. When the holler miss, tell that me turn up. Read it every day to get the scores up. And on the way to success, it ain't no love. Thomas K, so it's up, then it's up.
So now that's harmless. She changed all the lyrics to Ski Yee. That's harmless. I want to read to you the lyrics of that Sexy Red song. You got little kids in the room, get them out, or cover their ears. If you see me and you trying to see what's up, Ski Yee. He wanna with me, then I'ma have him stuck, Ski Yee. Bitch looking bad and got stupid butt, Ski Yee. Jury on your wrist, hold it up, Ski Yee. When I holler Ski Yee, that means pull up. Cars 75 and they fast as I'm looking good when I'm hopping out the truck. Where the hood at that get them bucks? Ski ye. Now, a teacher has listened to this song and said, you know what? I'm going to turn this into a song for my little kids to sing at second or third grade class. And we're going to jump around and ski ye. And that's good. And so a teacher thinks that introducing kids to Sexy Red, a woman that walks around half naked, shaking her butt in front of men and women, talking about this. And again, if we did the Pound Town song, it's even worse. But this is what we're doing. This is the clown show that idolatry has normalized. And anybody that complains about, oh, well, you hate black people. You must hate yourself if you don't like Sexy Red. You must hate yourself if you think Deion is doing things that violate your Christian values. How dare you criticize Deion? You must hate black people. No, man, I hate idols that make us abandon our values out of idolatry. Because it has real consequences. And it will have real consequences when second and third graders have placed Sexy Red on a pedestal and see Sexy Red as an idol worthy of being looked up to. And they're introduced to Sexy Red's highly sexualized music at 6, 7, 8 years old. And you're wondering why our children have all these sexual identity issues? Why little girls keep having babies after babies and don't think about marriage at all? If the Ice Spice woman or whatever she's done videos, I think, with Kim Kardashian's children. We've thrown all values out the window. And we've given everybody this sexual demon, these sexual soul ties that they cannot handle. I had to pick up and leave California to try to combat my sexual lust. And we're giving this to kids? And we think there's no ramifications for it? We think that centering and focusing on all these rappers whose message basically is do anything for money? And hey, let's bring them into the locker room. Let's treat them like the biggest stars and celebrities. Let's ingest the values and let's promote those values to young people in college to, do whatever it takes to get money. That's all that matters. A coach is allowing that and promoting that within his team to be attractive to recruits. And we somehow think, once he gets them there with all that, with the weed and the rappers and all that, then he's going to put some Christianity into them and it's all going to work out. This is insanity. And idolatry promotes insanity. When you put yourself or someone else on a pedestal and worship them and defend them the way you should be worshiping and defending God, that's a recipe for disaster. And we've done it. We've created a clown show and a clown culture. And everybody's mad at me because I'm objecting to it. And then what you do is, and I'm sure it's in the chat, I'm sure it's in the comment, what about Trump? We ain't talking about Trump. We're talking about us. Because Trump ain't being centered in front of our kids. And I'm not here right at this moment to talk about the Trump cult and the people that look up to Trump. That's not what this is about. Because as best I can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong, whatever's going on with the Trump deal, does it have anything to do with sexualizing kids? And I'm asking that sincerely, because maybe I'm missing it. Because I don't pay that super close attention to politics. But this whole little mentality of like, hey, ignore our problems because across the street they got a problem with Trump. That's a stupid mentality. Jason, don't lose any weight. Trump's overweight too. That's a retarded person's mentality. And it's based in racial idolatry. Well, until white people clean up whatever problems they got, I don't have to address mine. And Jason, you shouldn't talk about it. And the whole myth of like, oh, you're just trying to do shows that cater to a specific demographic. Yes, I am. The demographic I'm trying to appeal to and trying to wake up and that I'm concerned about is the demographic of people who are throwing away their religious faith and religious values to chase materialism, to chase popularity, to chase sexual perversion. The population, and this cuts across all racial demographics. But the people that are throwing away the values that lead to success because of their idolatry, that's the demographic I'm trying to appeal to. None of my message is about popularity. If I were interested in popularity and money, I would still be at ESPN or Fox Sports. This is so crystal clear. And that's why when y'all make that argument, I'm like, are you retarded? Do you know what I've done? Do you know what I walked away from? Do you know where the checks actually come from and who gets paid? You sound like an idiot. Because I'm going to walk you through here next where the checks actually come from and who actually gets the checks. Travis Kelce's getting the bag right now because he threw away all of his values. He's willing to support the vaccine. He's willing to support whatever it is they tell him to support to get the bag. He just jumped on board with Bud Light to get the bag. I mean, seriously, do you know how stupid you sound? How removed from reality you sound? The bag goes to the people willing to sell out all of their values to promote Bud Light and the vaccine. I'm gonna tie it all together. We're gonna talk about the killer clowns. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Before I go, I do want you guys to think about it. If you love this content, leave a comment. If you understand the importance of this content, leave a comment. And also support one of our great sponsors like Bank on Yourself. Bank on Yourself is a great way to protect your retirement earnings and grow your retirement earnings. All you have to do is go to bankonyourself.com/fearless. That's bankonyourself.com/fearless. I'm going to get into Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce next.
Previously on Fearless.
Do you think he comes back and tries to play next year at 40 years old, or trying to recover from an Achilles tear at 39, 40? Maybe that's just a sign it's over.
Well, I think, and this is only my opinion, I believe that he certainly doesn't want to go out that way. That being said, there's a lot that goes into coming back that was unforeseen. I'm sure he wasn't expecting a season-ending injury. With technology today, the surgery would assume should go well. And, I think Aaron's got enough competitive spirit in him that he'll come back.
All right, welcome back. This particular segment, this particular conversation is sponsored by our good friends at Nugenix. All you have to do is text 231-231. If you're trying to boost your testosterone levels, Nugenix is a great way to do it. I've been using it to help me get in shape and to level out and grow my testosterone level back. It's working for me. It will work for you. Just text 231-231. It'll enroll you in some text messaging and whatever, but support one of our great sponsors and boost your testosterone with Nugenix. All right, I want to get into Travis Kelce. And did you guys catch that this weekend? Part of the bag that Travis Kelce has received for hopping on board with Bud Light and hopping on board with Pfizer is Taylor Swift. And you think I'm joking when I say that, but that is part of the bag. When you sell out, when you're willing to throw away all of your values and to hand your balls away and give them to a woman to put in a jar, they'll send you the best in the business. They'll send you one of the biggest icons in all of the world. Last we saw Travis Kelce, and I pardon me for the idolatry or the racial idolatry of this next statement, but Travis Kelce had let off every sign he liked big booty black women. But in order to get him on board with Pfizer and Bud Light, they had to promise him a little skinny white girl. I ain't mad at him. He versatile, whatever. But that is part of the deal here as it relates to Travis Kelce. Let's watch the Bud Light commercial. Bud Light makes a fool of itself, ruins its business, putting this transgender man on a beer can. And here comes Travis Kelce to the rescue. Play the commercial. Travis Kelce, one of the biggest football stars, one of the, tough guy, tight end, headed to the Hall of Fame. Bud Light, in trouble. Yeah, Travis Kelce, he'll fix it. He'll cape up for Bud Light. Whoever's got the bag, that's what these athletes will do and go for. They don't stand for anything. Now he comes back with another bag from Pfizer promoting the vaccine. Play the clip.
Travis, did you know you can get this season's COVID-19 shot when you get your flu shot?
Two things at once.
Two things at once! Two things at once! I'll have two things at once, please.
Now back to two things at once.
Two things at once.
That's not two things at once.
Mom!
Travis, ask about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Big NFL star, Travis Kelce. When I tell you about these idols and this idolatry and these people that you all, because, they're a great athlete and I got to defend them and how dare you criticize them. They're all the same, whether black or white. We saw Drew Brees fold over defending the national anthem. Fold real quick. We've seen Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich cape up for every left-wing cause there is, throw out everything they truly believe for the bag, for the popularity, for the standing in the establishment that's in control. Here is Travis Kelce, promoting a professional. What professional athlete in the prime of his life and health would be out promoting the vaccine, given all the data about the injuries and whatnot? What professional athlete would do this? They all virtually would, because they're all controlled by money. They're radical materialists. They don't have a set of values that they stick to. And they're normalizing it and want you to worship these guys and to look up to them because they want you to normalize, hey, I don't have a set of values. I do whatever the money tells me to do. And so now Travis Kelce has been promised Taylor Swift. And he's going to lose a tiny bit more, or a bit more of his manhood. Taylor Swift, hardcore leftist, promotes abortion, melted down when Roe v. Wade got overturned. And so I want to give you men, boys, some advice about these career women. And I want to apologize to career women up front if you're offended by this, but avoid them. Avoid them. Because you need to be in control. You need to be man of your house and your relationship. And Travis Kelce, as long as he's involved with Taylor Swift, he got no shot. Look at Russell Wilson and why he's gone down the toilet ever since involving himself with Sierra. Why he's been putting out all these little phony videos and afraid to just be who he is. Marry one of these celebrity career women. Avoid them. Kim Kardashian, what she did to Kanye West, and I'm sure Kanye West did some things to her. I'm not throwing a pity party for Kanye West. But you want to get involved with these celebrities, and you got to throw all your beliefs. What you think doesn't matter. You have to compromise everything. Because let's say, and look, maybe Travis Kelce, and like a lot of athletes, he probably is pro-abortion because they indiscriminately have sex. They have unprotected sex. They knock up women and probably pay for abortions or pressure women into getting abortions. Maybe he's pro-abortion for those reasons, but we'll never know. Because now he has no choice. He has to be a hardcore leftist in order to maintain this relationship with Taylor Swift. Because that's what her industry requires, and that's what the sports industry now requires. If they tell you to, hey, Bud Light needs you to bail them out, you got to run in there and bail them out. If they tell you, hey, we need a big, strong athlete to go tell people, hey, take this vaccine. You got to run in there and tell them to take the vaccine. What man worth millions of dollars would involve himself in the whole vaccine debate on one side or the other? A football player, you don't know nothing really about it. Why would you want to be in a commercial promoting something you really don't know anything about? Because your handlers told you to, and because there was a check that went along with it? Why not just stand down and stay out of it? Because you're not qualified. But that's not what these athletes do. The whole entertainment industry is rigged up for clowns willing to participate in a circus and to do what they're trained to do and what they're told to do. It's a clown show promoting values and a belief system and a way of operating that leads to your destruction. That's the danger of idolatry. And trying to mix in, well, this person stands for this little bit of good and he does X, Y, and Z. No. It's so obvious. If you take the blinders off, if you take the idolatry down, these athletes are not leaders. These entertainers are not leaders. They're whores for money, and that's it. The New York Jets this weekend took the field with Ukraine stickers on their helmet, with the Ukraine flag on their helmets. The U.S. flag and the Ukraine flag. Do you think the New York Jets players have any understanding of the conflict going on between Ukraine and Russia? How much thought do you think Sauce Gardner has given that? You think he's been to the front lines? You think he's read a single story about it? But to get the check, the NFL put the Ukraine flag on the back of the New York Jets helmet. These are clowns in a circus. These are people with no set of values other than, hey, whatever puts the most money in my pocket. And perhaps many of you have adopted those values and standards. Admit that. Don't hop into the comments. Don't fill up my Twitter feed with all these comments about, oh, I'm upset with you because you a sellout and you criticizing Deion. No, what you're really doing is arguing, I'm not a sellout. Whitlock's calling me a sellout because I support Deion and all the other clowns in the circus. You're not defending Deion, you're defending yourself and your association and love of clowns. An NFL team with a Ukraine flag on the back of their helmets, like these players, know what's going on in Ukraine. They're useful idiots that are exchanged. They're whores in a whorehouse. Anybody can come in and have their way with them, as long as the money's right. Deion, hey, bring the rappers in. Sexy James Franklin, bring Sexy Red in. Travis Kelce, hey, I'm for Dylan Mulvaney and transgenders, and I'm gonna help bail out Bud Light. And hey, take this vaccine. Just cut me the check. And what time's Taylor Swift getting here? You gotta be a man of substance. You gotta be a man of substance, and quit getting caught up in me tearing down your idols and acting like I've put a knife in you. If tearing down your idol feels like I've put a knife in you, go see a therapist. Go see a psychiatrist. Drop to your knees and ask God to deliver you from your idolatry and stupidity. You're part of the circus. You're a clown in a clown show. I'm going to get to one of the biggest clowns, Krusty the Clown, Homie the Clown, Shannon Sharpe, next.
Previously on Fearless.
What is his gripe? Please. I
don't think he has a gripe. I don't think he has a gripe. I think he's trying to send a message to his team. I'm going to be in this fight with you.
So if I go through is this Jay Novell's first year at Colorado State? I got that.
No.
Picking a fight with a coach that you have no intention of fighting? What are we talking about? Because I don't hear the message that the kids in the locker room are gonna pick up. Oh yeah, Coach Prime glasses and hat offend me. What? What?
All right, welcome back. Man, I hope you're enjoying this show as much as I am delivering it to you. This has been awesome. This particular segment sponsored by Patriot Mobile. You guys, if you're sick of supporting a woke cell phone provider, you don't have to do it anymore. You can switch to Patriot Mobile just like I did. All you have to do is go to patriotmobile.com/Jason or call 972-PATRIOT. You can support a cell phone provider that supports our values. Patriot Mobile, it's a great option. Been 1,000% satisfied with my service. Jump on board with Patriot Mobile. Guys, I want to talk about Shannon Sharpe and kind of wrap up the clown show conversation. Can't decide, Krusty the Clown, Homie the Clown. Shannon's one of the biggest clowns in all of this idolatrous sports media, entertainment industry, all of this. We're in an era where you have to be a buffoon to be platformed in corporate media. I know many of you hear that and just, oh man, I love Uncle Shay Shay, and Jason, you just a hater. No, I'm gonna walk you through just a tiny bit of what I'm talking about and how your values and your mentality have been reshaped and reconfigured and redesigned, and you've been reprogrammed by a system assisted by these social media apps, Twitter in this case, and TikTok and Instagram. All of your values are being reshaped by what these social media apps are telling you to support and the influences that they're centering and creating the impression that they're the smartest, coolest people on the planet. YouTube does it. They all favor a certain level of buffoonery. And then we're all supposed to buy into it because it's packaged black. And if you reject that buffoonery, and if you stick to your values and your core beliefs, you're either racist or a sellout. This is what idolatry does. I want to play you Shannon Sharpe over the weekend or last Thursday or Friday. He does an interview with Stephen A. Smith, and he talks about Skip Bayless and how they lost all respect for each other, or how Skip Bayless lost respect for him. Let's play that clip.
You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots. You started it.
Time out. You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal
Put your glasses back on.
As you reflect back on that moment, what goes through your mind, and how much trouble was the relationship between you two in at that particular moment?
There were a lot of that is my fault, because there were times that led up to that I felt that shots were taken and I let it go. And I should have said something then, but I didn't. And I would bring it to people's attention and they brushed it up under the rug. So that was my fault that it got to that point, and he felt that he could go over the top in that situation. Once one partner has no respect for the other partner then in turn loses respect for said partner. Then I think it's only a matter of time. Because I felt in that moment he had lost all respect for me. He had no respect for me. So I was very hurt and disappointed that he chose to go there with me when I've been one of the guys that's been in his corner. So it really, really hurt me. And what hurt me the most probably was because I know this is what I know. And this is what I told my bosses, and I don't want to get too specific.
Okay.
I said, had the shoe been on the other foot, what would have been the outcome? Had I attacked him personally, live on television, what would have happened?
Shannon is looking for respect from someone he should not be looking for respect from. See, what we can control is the level of respect we give. When you start looking for, demanding, and trying to impose on someone the level of respect that you receive, and I'm talking about another grown man or another grown person. See, Skip is not your child. If Skip was Shannon's child, go ahead and demand respect from your child. But another man, that's because you have made yourself an idol. When you start worrying about insignificant people, and I know he's your partner on television, but he doesn't owe you some level of respect that you can demand or impose. And it speaks to this self-idolatry that we have, that we're owed a level of respect. God is owed a level of reverence and respect. We are commanded to give respect. There is no commandment about receiving respect and then getting upset and emotional and triggered when we don't receive the level of respect we think we're owed. And so Skip Bayless saying, I like Tom Brady, or whatever he said about Tom Brady, and triggering Shannon, it speaks to the weakness of Shannon's mentality. And I'm going to go a cut deeper here, but I want to show you to the level of childishness and stupidity. Shannon Sharpe, looking for respect from someone who doesn't owe it to him and whose respect he should really be unconcerned with. What level it will take you to. Play the other clip.
Why? Why would I be jealous of Tom Brady? I'm happy that Tom was like me, given an opportunity. He made the most of that opportunity. I think that was, in all of my TV career, that probably was I remember going home, calling my sister. I called my brother. My homeboy has everybody had told him, and he had raced home he'd watch it. It took a lot. It took a lot for me not to put my hands on him. It actually did.
I'm so thankful you didn't do that. I'm so thankful.
So here's Shannon Sharpe in his 50s on a program that young people are watching. And he's caught up in a mentality of like, whoo, boy, Skip Bayless showed me so much disrespect. It took everything for me not to put my hands on him. And I'm like, really? A grown man thinks that someone else saying something about Tom Brady and you're not as good as Tom Brady or whatever, that's so disrespectful, I almost put hands on him. And we're having this conversation. And so this all relates to, again, everybody is platforming clowns and unwise people. Because, and social media apps are signaling and showing support for clowns and unwise and immoral people and older people who should know better and who should be at a higher level of thinking based on their age. But they're promoting them because they want kids to be influenced by them and to confirm childish thoughts, foolish thoughts, biblically unsound thoughts to young people. So let me walk you through this whole disrespect culture that a lot of young people, but particularly young black men, are caught up in. And it's a culture that states, if someone disrespects you, the natural dictated response has to be, you must disrespect them back. And so I was having a conversation over social media this weekend where someone was suggesting, no, this is a self-control issue. And it's not a self-control issue, because there's a mentality that the proper response, this isn't a lack of control, this is a teaching that the proper response to disrespect is to be disrespectful back and to be taken to a level where you're considering putting your hands on or being violent towards someone who disrespected you. And the proper mentality, particularly for believers, is you should be dead to the world. And by being dead to the world, you're in such a kingdom mentality that there's nothing the world can do or say to you that would offend you. Because I'm just a visitor here. I'm just here until I get to that better place. And virtually everything that happens to me here is irrelevant, particularly words. So there's nobody, and I've told the story before on the show, I've probably written about it at some point, but I can remember 15 years ago, I'm down in Miami, and I'm on some rooftop nightclub or whatever, and some Cuban woman got upset with me and got all up in my face, was calling me the N-word. I mean, just repeatedly calling me the N-word. And I just looked at her like, and for those of you that are listening, you won't be able to see it, but I just looked at her like, huh? And this went on for solid 30 seconds. And I just kept that look like, this is crazy, but never said a word. Because I'm dead to that woman. There's nothing she can say to me that has any impact on me. She's an idiot. She's out of control. Her nature at that time had been overtaken by satanic energy. What am I supposed to do? She's dead to me. It's nothing to me. I am here trying my best to perform for an audience of one. And that audience is God. And so I'm trying to behave and act in a way that wins the respect of God. I'm not trying to win the respect of anybody here on this planet. No one. I'm not trying to win the respect of my mother, my father, God rest his soul, brother, sister, friends. I'm not trying to win their respect. I'm going to give them and everyone respect because that's what I'm commanded to do. That's spelled out crystal clear in the Bible. And so we spend all of our time measuring how much respect we receive, not measuring how much respect we give. And that's a mistake. And that's how you end up in a culture where, don't you diss me, don't let anybody disrespect you, he better not disrespect you, but man, so-and-so disrespected you, blah. You live in that mentality. You start wondering about, oh, does my next door neighbor, does he respect me? And did the woman at the checkout at the grocery store, will she disrespect me? You better give me my respect. That's a crazy mentality that will have you running around, emotional, easy to trigger, easy to manipulate. I can remember, I'm going to tell the story about Dante Love. the kid that played at Ball State that's like my adopted son. And I can remember when I brought him out to L.A. and he got a job at some kind of athletic shoe store. And there was some, I think, either Mexican or white dude that didn't like him and kept trying to trigger him and kept trying to push his buttons. And Dante is from Cincinnati, one of the toughest kids I know. And he ended up, I think either he threatened to or he beat up this kid at work. And I can remember having a long talk, and because the kid had done some disrespectful things to him. and I'm pretty sure it was a white dude, because I told him, I was like, dude, this dude's playing you like a banjo. He knows how easily controlled and how easily manipulated you are, and you just got fired for jumping on him because Dante was selling more shoes than him. Dante's got an over-the-top, bubbly personality, good-looking kid. He was in there killing it, selling shoes. And this kid got jealous, triggered him into a fight, and Dante got fired. And I was like, this is your fault, man. I don't care what this dude said to you. Who is he? Does he pay your bills? Who is he? You got a son. Is he going to feed your son? And so I didn't say it to him then because I didn't know the mentality. But basically what I was saying is like, that dude should be dead to you. That dude can't move you. And so what I'm saying, when they put all these clowns in control and platform all the clowns, they start reinforcing and promoting a mentality that will lead to your destruction. And because, he got a Hall of Fame jacket and he's popular over YouTube and he's got a contract with ESPN and he's black, you make Shannon Sharpe an idol. And you can't, when someone like me comes around and says, nah, man, Shannon Sharpe's behaviors and everything that he's talking about, that ain't gonna work for you. It's not working for him. It's only working for him because he's a clown they can use in the circus. But as I've said before, that behavior you saw at that Lakers game with him triggered and ready to fight a group of young boys, that's Shannon Sharpe. He's easily triggered. He wanted to fight Skip Bayless over some words on a debate show. That's someone who's easily triggered and volatile in a work environment, in a social setting, in all settings. Easily triggered. Easily triggered people have HR rap sheets that make them easy to control and manipulate and be told to stay on message and be told, hey, throw away your values and you need to promote this alphabet mafia agenda or we're going to let you go because you're really easy to trigger and we have dirt on you because of that. See, they don't want you to hear any biblical wisdom. They want you to hear worldly wisdom. They want you to hear things and for your kids to hear things that confirm and promote and reinforce the stupidity that's plaguing American society, your neighborhood, your kids. You're teaching your kids. I had a guy on Twitter tell me, I told my sons, give everybody respect until they give you a reason not to. And I walked the guy through. It was like, no, brother. That's not it. That's not the standard. That's a standard that will get your son in jail. Oh, someone disrespected me. I must disrespect them back. I must throw gas on this fire to the point that perhaps we'll draw guns on each other or he'll draw a gun on me, or we'll get in a fight and then we'll see each other later and draw guns on each other. Or I'll do something that costs me my job. See, they want you in a mentality that leads to your destruction and makes you easier and easier to control. And that's why all the athletes that they're platforming and giving these, particularly as it relates to black athletes, they all got dirt and luggage and baggage and criminal records. Because, these are people that are easy to control. We got dirt on them. We can control them. We can have them on message. We can have them ignoring truth. We can have them promoting the things that we want promoted. We can use them to blind the rest of you all, to convince the rest of you all. Throw away your values. Throw away the things you believe in to get money, to be popular, to make sure no one on Twitter ever tweets a bad thing at you. That's how they do it. And that's why I speak so strongly and passionately about the need to eliminate idolatry. And so I know you all think it's great that Deion Sanders references God. Call me when he starts preaching biblical wisdom, principles, and scripture. Referencing God is easy. And it's a great smokescreen. And it's a message to the rest of the Christian world that, hey, you can be a Christian who violates all Christian and biblical values. You can be a Christian and think that your cockiness and arrogance is why you're so great. And you can be cocky and arrogant at 56 and 57 years old and still be a Christian in good standing. I'm not lying to myself. The sin that is so obvious in me doesn't make me a Christian in good standing. It lets me know how much more work I have to do. So when you see my gluttony, that's not me being a good Christian. That's me saying I have more work to do. And so Deion, and again, Deion knows he's not perfect, but if you see me promoting gluttony and obesity, because that's what Deion's doing. When he comes in with the sunglasses and I'm talking my talk and walking my walk, and if my confidence makes you insecure, that's a you problem. No, man. No. Your confidence, your arrogance violates Christian principles. And you keep running around talking about Christ, but you're 1,000% confident with your swagger and arrogance. Now, that can't go unchecked because you're sending a message to everybody else. Embrace your cockiness and arrogance. Make yourself an idol. Make your identity Prime instead of Deion. Like I made my identity Big Sexy instead of Jason. I made myself an idol, and I still struggle with it every day. Everybody needs to be in that struggle with me, with themselves. Everybody listening. You can point a finger at Deion, but I'm talking about you. All of us must be in a constant fight with ourselves and our weaker, sinful nature. I might be ready for Danny Cannell. That might be all I want to say about the clown show for today. But we're living in a clown show. We don't have to celebrate the clowns. We can take them floppy shoes and red nose and all that hair off. Come join the rest of us and enter this fight to save these young people from a clown world that we're constructing. All of this stuff is connected, and it's all connected through idolatry. And I have a passion. It is probably my biggest passion to try to explain to myself first and others what idolatry does and how it blinds us and how it cripples us and how it puts us in a worse place. Danny Cannell next.
I just wanna be. I just wanna be. I just wanna be. I just want.
Previously on Fearless.
This is midget Randy Moss. This is mini Randy Moss. He's not 6'5".
Nope.
But he scares safeties the same way as Randy Moss. And points follow Tyreek Hill wherever he goes.
Safeties.
That's
the whole defense. The whole defense. Because when I'm rushing Whitlock and I know he's out there on that cover 2 and Lynch is over the top, I got to get there. Because if he's even, he's leaving. You remember that old saying? Man, They ran a play where they had him stacked and he came in motion underneath and the guy went and ran underneath, ran a shallow cross. He ran a deep Man. Oh, my goodness. I'm like the play design.
All right, welcome back. We'll end today's show by talking to Danny Cannell, former Florida State quarterback, former NFL quarterback, host of his own show. And Danny is one of these guys who occasionally has something interesting to say about Coach Prime, and he's been catching a lot of heat for that. He and RG3 have gotten into it over social media. So we're going to roll out and bring Danny Cannell into this conversation and end the show that way. This particular segment brought to you by Preborn.com. All you need to do is go to Preborn.com/Jason or hit pound 250 and donate to the organization most near and dear to me and this show. Preborn.com, we're saving babies' lives. You should help us as well. Preborn provides ultrasounds. Preborn.com/Jason. All right, without further ado, Danny, I want to start by playing you a clip of RG3 talking about all of these haters that Deion Sanders has. And I've been on the hunt for these haters, and I just don't see them. But anyway, let's listen to RG3.
Deion Sanders is a nightmare for the football establishment. This man represents everything they don't want to go up against. Let's go ahead and define who is they. They is the coaches that he's coaching against and the media. Why don't they like him? Well, it's because he's vocal. It's because he's confident and he wants his players to have fun. I mean, this guy is cool. He's dapper. He's a great coach. He'll lift you up, but he's also going to hold you accountable. You know how long they have told us that you can't have it both ways? As a coach, you can't be cool and be great. Coach Prime don't care about that. Coach Prime is coaching his team. He doesn't want the kid that just wants the bag. He wants the kid that wants to get better. And he's letting them know that it's not about NIL, it's about NFL. And if you make those plays, the bag and the money will follow. He is making college football adjust to him. Coach Prime is not a spectacle, ladies and gentlemen. He is primed to win.
Yep, so that pretty much summarizes everything. Coach Prime is the greatest thing to ever happen in all of sports, and he's made coaching cool, and that just scares everybody. Your thoughts, Danny?
Man, my guy RG3, I got to give him credit because he has a flair for the dramatic, right? I mean, everything for the presentation is flawless. Like, I need to reach out to his social media team because they do a fantastic job. I think that's it's a perfect synopsis of what is driving me and a lot of people crazy is that we act like Deion is the first coach to ever sort of embrace some of these characteristics. Like, I remember a time when Steve Spurrier was at Florida and I was at Florida State, and Steve Spurrier talked all kind of trash about everybody in the country and even specifically in the South. And he would disparage other teams, talk a lot of trash, and he had the fun and gun offense, and it was cool. And like, you know, not everybody loved him, but it was okay to not like Steve Spurrier then. Now, if you push back at all at Prime and be like, well, you know what? This is a little bit brash, a little bit confident. They really haven't done anything yet. Then all of a sudden it's, well, why? Why are you saying that? Well, because it's not my flavor. It's not my style. Like, that should be okay too. But we have gotten to a place where we put Deion Sanders on this pedestal and this idol worship of a coach who is great for college football, but we've just far exceeded the reality of what's really happening.
And Danny, that you've just summarized my point in totality in terms of we've crowned this guy after 3 games. And in the third game, they got thoroughly outplayed by allegedly an inferior team and probably should have lost to TCU as well. But we're crowning this guy as the greatest thing ever 3 games in. I've seen a lot of coaches look good early. And let's deal with the racial dynamics, which is probably a bit easier for me than you. But it's like James Franklin, I live here in Nashville. James Franklin came to Vanderbilt and won. That's incredible. Vanderbilt, it's hard to win at. I think he put together 3 straight 9-win seasons at Vanderbilt. When Deion does that, I'll put him on James Franklin's level. When he does that at Colorado, I'll put him on James Franklin's level. Somehow he skipped past James Franklin and everybody else, and Deion is the greatest thing that's ever hit college football. I'm just not ready to buy that because I don't think what he's doing actually is sustainable. I'm not convinced this is going to work this season or even next season or the year after that.
So I think he could work. This season, I think you're probably looking at 5 or 6 wins. So, 5-7, 6-6, which is still a great turnaround. I do think next year they're going to address things, but there's a lot of and this is good for college football. There's a lot of people who have come to the college football scene because of Deion, but they also have no clue about how college football works. And even with the opinions of people, but also the inner workings of it, because remember how he built this team. Remember, he cleared house, right? He cleaned house and he bought in a bunch of transfers, bought and brought. If I said it, you can do that now. But as part of that, he's probably going to want to churn that roster a little bit more, but you're only allowed to transfer once in the college football transfer portal. So he might want to bring in 30 more guys, but it's going to be really uncomfortable when he tries to send guys packing who don't have a landing spot. That's what I think could be really fascinating. He can recruit. He got basically $100 million worth of free recruiting, free advertising, with the game day, big noon kickoff, all the shows that have been there, which is why coaches are jealous. Absolutely, they're jealous. That's why Dan Lanning went off, the coach for Oregon, in the pregame speech. And I guarantee you he got, I would guess, 50 to 75 text messages from other coaches after that game saying, thank you. Thank you for handling this hype machine that felt like an unstoppable force. Will you put a stop to it? And I think that was probably the bigger picture was at play. Can I address something on the race issue, though? Because you are right. It is really uncomfortable. Ever since I got into broadcasting, it struck me at first. I used to get really mad and come back at people because I would criticize a black quarterback or a black player and be like, oh, well, you're racist then. And it really used to bother me a lot. And unfortunately, it happens with such more frequency now that you just kind of get hardened to it. And I hate that's where we are as a society. I really don't try to think about it. I know there's stuff that's ingrained. I get it. But I hate that it's become a part of the conversation. And around Deion, once again, this was all so predictable because you had this hype machine that people were growing weary of, right? College football fans especially but white, black, any color. Like, yeah, what if you're a Oregon fan who happens to be black? Are you not allowed to be sick and tired of your team being acted like they're supposed to be the only national championship worthy team that's getting all this coverage? And you have a Heisman Trophy, candidate at quarterback. You've got a legitimate top 10 team and you haven't been mentioned at all. You don't think there's some people ready to talk some trash after Oregon beats Colorado? Of course. But then there became this really quick conversation, and you could see this brewing in the last couple weeks when, people like myself were pushing back even just the slightest bit, saying we're going out a little bit over our skis now with the Deion love. It was like, why? Why don't you like him? Insinuating, it hasn't been like insinuating it's because he's black. And so I don't know if you saw, there was one reporter, a female, and she put out a tweet and it said, thank you, Dan Lanning, from all of us. And boy, that language was, for her, extremely bad choice. But boy, the critics came out and were like, who's us? Who do you want? Who's us? And that was the thing that kind of was RG3 was asking, why do you not like Dan Lanning? Why are you upset at him, but you're not upset at Deion? I was like, it's simple. These are college football fans we're talking about. They're tired of the overexposure of that team that is not going to their team. It's pretty simple. It's not a greater indictment of where race is in society today. We are talking about one of the most rabid, irrational fan bases in any sport in the world. It's college football fans, and they were tired of it, and they were going to let him hear about it. And I think that's as simple as it is.
Danny, a guy like yourself that grows up in a locker room through childhood all the way through the pros, there's a culture within a locker room where guys can talk to each other in a politically incorrect way and very honestly and transparently, where you throw race and all that stuff out. And they're asking people like myself that, like, Deion as a player, I loved it. It was great entertainment. High stepping, in your face, blah, blah, blah. I have a different set of expectations and values that I place on a coach, the leader of the team. I don't want my coach acting like a player. Those are my values. And what RG3 and others are arguing is, nope, you have to disregard your values, and Deion's race becomes paramount. And so you can't dislike Deion because of his race. You can't adhere to your values. And so there are a lot of people whose values, probably Dan Lanning and other people, are like, hey, Deion doesn't match my values as a coach. He's making it all about him and not about the kids. People have a right to object to that and root for that to lose because those are their values. It's not a black or white thing.
Amen. I mean, I think you absolutely nailed it. And isn't that part of what makes sports great? There's two different sides to every team. Like, you pick a side, like there's a battle taking place. And oftentimes you see teams square off that have completely different personalities, different styles of play. And when it's coming from the head coach, like I would say probably one of my favorite coaches ever to walk a sideline is Tony Dungy. I mean, you talk about values that I respect and admire, and he's a black coach. And I never had a problem. Like, I never thought, I don't want him to win because he's black. No, I just liked him because of what he stood for. He's a Christian. He wears his faith on his sleeve. I never liked coaches that screamed and yelled and cursed me out. That's exactly what Tony Dungy is. Like, there's other coaches that are black or white that handle themselves entirely different than what I would prefer. But that should be okay that I don't love their coaching style, just the way that there are some that have a different coaching style. Like, that's what bothers me the most is we aren't at a place where we're comfortable just saying, you know what, that's not for me. And it has nothing to do with race. It's just not my style. It's not my preference. And another place, like, this might be what I really root for. And that should be okay. And I would say encourage. Like, why can't we have, like, that's what makes sports great. That's what makes dramas great. When you go to the movies, like, there's different characters that play a part in a different story. And, I think it's okay. I have a question for you. Can I ask you this? Because I know you talk about faith a lot. And
Please.
Deion himself, I think he does a lot of good, right? I think he does. I mean, he talks about God a lot. He says, I'm blessed. How do you balance Deion's cockiness, which is basically against the principles of humility that are taught in the Christian faith. And I actually was having some fun last week, like tweeting out a lot of Bible verses saying, hey, pride comes before the fall. And, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And I was like, man, but he really leans into the more belief and confident aspect of it. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think that humility is one of the sure signs of faith. And so it's no different, and I'll be completely transparent. I'm very hard on myself on this show. When people criticize me about my gluttony, I have to accept that and say that that's not from God, my gluttony and me being overweight. And if people want to say, hey, Jason, because you're overweight and you struggle with gluttony, I think that calls into question your faith. I'm good with that. And so Deion has to be good with, if he wants to run around and be the most arrogant person and very materialistic, still at age 56, if he wants to be that guy, he's going to have to deal with people like me and others saying, hey, man, that undermines this faith you keep talking about. Are you really legitimate with this, or is it just like a gimmick covering up other aspects of your life where there is no discipline, there is no self-control, there is no humility? And so I'm not comfortable with Deion's level of or lack of humility. I think it contradicts everything about the faith. And again, if someone wants to host a show and say, hey, Whitlock, being overweight contradicts your faith, I just got to deal with that. I can't whine and cry about it. It's a legitimate criticism, and Deion is worthy of legitimate criticism. Danny, I want to push back against one thing you said.
Yeah.
I have zero confidence this is going to work partially for part of the reason you're talking about, in terms of his locker room is going to be a hot mess. For part of the reason what you're talking about, you can only transfer once. And so he's done brought in a bunch of guys that transferred, and he's not going to be able to run them out. He's got an offensive line that's protecting his golden child son. And so everybody thinks everything Deion is doing is working. I spent the weekend looking at Rivals, 24/7 Sports, and ESPN. Do you know where they're ranked at in recruiting right now? In the 70s. In the 70s. Out of Big 12 teams, I think they're 14th out of 16 teams in recruiting. All of this smoke and mirrors, all of this hype, it's working on social media. But I'm not sure it's working in recruiting. They're struggling in recruiting. And with the offensive linemen, you can get some skills players, you can get some DBs and some wide receivers, some outside island players that will love the rap, the Deion's gold chains and all that. But the offensive linemen that you win with, they're not as prone to be into that. And again, running the football, and again, I told people over social media this weekend, the only thing I really know about sports is offensive line play. That's the only thing I truly know. That's a mindset and an attitude as much as it is talent. A cover corner who never really liked to tackle anybody is not going to instill the toughness you need to establish a consistent running game. And he's leaning into his son and this Heisman race and trying to make him the number one pick. They're going to start throwing those offensive linemen under the bus. My prediction is the offensive line basically is going to quit on him mid-season because they're going to get tired of being singled out and blamed for everything. He's going to then want them to transfer and leave so he can replace them. It's going to be a hot mess. And he's not going to be, if you check the high school recruiting, he's not going to be able to land all these. He's not recruiting at the level of the elite schools, despite all the hype. I'm not sure this is going to work, Danny. This is about Deion's son, the quarterback, far more than it is about anybody else on that team, including his son, who's the safety.
You bring up a really interesting point because I think adversity reveals character, right? And they have this is just the beginning of what I think is going to be a rough patch for them. I think they're going to lose again this weekend to Southern Cal. And, it's fun when you're talking trash. Nobody's talking about you, and it's great, and everybody's propping you up. But I'm sure you saw it too. The Oregon players, do you see them after the game? They were, showing the watch, and they were doing everything that, making it personal, all those things that Colorado had been doing. So what does happen when they start facing that adversity? And you mentioned like the offensive line. Every team I ever played on that was good had a nasty, mean, physical offensive line. And guess what else? They didn't like talking to media. Like when I was in Denver, I played on the Broncos. The offensive line, they got fined if they did interviews. Like they didn't want any of the ancillary stuff, the attention. They just wanted to go to work and just grind people into the ground like a meat grinder. So that's interesting. And then when Deion says, and he was asked this, on national television, hey, where, how far away are you? Like what positions do you need? And he specifically referenced the offensive line. Like, what does that say to the guys that are sitting in that locker room? Like, wait, you're telling me I'm not good enough? Like, and then now they've had injuries. You bring up a great point. I think this year it does fall off the rails. What is going to be one of the most covered stories, because we're not going to stop talking about it, is next year. What can they do through the transfer portal and the recruiting process? Because he is going to make it a destination spot, but does he attract the kind of player that can deal with adversity and overcome it? And that physicality that you mentioned is of, utmost importance if you want to succeed.
Look, and athletes now today, and particularly at the professional level, and this is where it still is a difference between the professional level and the collegiate level, because the NFL is so much about genetics. And it's just like, do you have the physical tools to play at this level? And so at the NFL level, how much weed you smoke is a little bit irrelevant. It's still relevant at the collegiate level, where camaraderie, locker room chemistry, who puts in the extra work, mindset of the team, all of that still matters. And when you listen to Dan Lanning talk to his team and that message, we're going to talk with our pads, we're going to talk with our helmets, that's a whole different message than Key Glock, the rapper that was in Deion's locker room before the game, and Lil Wayne leading them out. It just with offensive linemen, and to some degree even with defensive linemen, but I'm just this whole little hip hop team, and come out here to Colorado, smoking weed is legal, and we're just gonna have a good time, and yeah, I'm gonna hold you accountable, but you're gonna have fun. It's not an environment that is I just don't think it's conducive to sustain consistent winning. And when I watch them, and you would know more about this, when I watch them from a scheme standpoint and an approach standpoint, how much they're throwing the ball, and Deion's just admitting we can't run. They're not even attempting to run the football. They're not. He's not protect. His son's has taken more hits than any quarterback anywhere, and it's a recipe for disaster.
He's got to be careful, too, because I thought it was interesting late in the game against Oregon, they wanted to get points on the board, and they still had Shedeur out there throwing it around in a game that's out of hand. I was surprised he left him out there, but I think it might allude to what you're talking about. Let's get him some stats so it's not a completely embarrassing performance. Let's put it out there. The recruiting thing is interesting, too, because you have to bring in players that are going to buy in. Like, in the NFL draft, it's hard enough for NFL evaluators who are pouring in millions of the question, like, how much do you really love football, or do you love what football brings you? And now you're having to determine that because you're able to pay players. At a high school level, it's even harder. And Colorado did sign a 5-star defensive back who is not starting yet. His name's Cormani McClain, and there's a lot of reports that he came in, he was out of shape. Like, some of these players, they don't play much in high school because they transfer around or they sit out some, and they become they kind of put the stamp of a 5-star on them, and they think all they have to do is show up. That's going to be a challenge because you have to weed through the talent to make sure you get guys that fit and that are going to work and aren't afraid of a challenge. And if you have anybody who's coming there for a shallow reason, to build a brand, or because you want to be featured on the show, or you just want to go, to be able to drive a Bentley or whatever it is, that's going to be a big challenge. So you bring up a good point. I still think it works next year. When I say works, I think like 9 wins is within reason, but it's going to be fascinating. Next year, we might have a side bet. We'll see.
And people can't, they don't get me. I get it, but it's just I've been following this stuff for way too long. We're looking at the Titanic. We're looking at the Titanic. This whole thing is about one kid, Shedeur Sanders. Prime Prep was about Shedeur Sanders. Jackson State was about Shedeur Sanders. Colorado is about Shedeur Sanders. It's the Titanic. Thank you, Danny.
You got it, Chase. Always
Appreciate
good being
it.
on with you.
All right, awesome. Great job. That's tomorrow. That means we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I just